Hello and welcome to Wisdom Wednesdays. Today we're looking at Proverbs chapter 10, verses 24 and 25. And here's what they say. The fears of the wicked will be fulfilled, the hopes of the godly will be granted. When the storms of life come, the wicked are whirled away, but the godly have a lasting foundation. It's an interesting set of contrasts, isn't it, for how life works for the wicked as compared to how it works for the godly? Your fears will be fulfilled. Man, that sounds like a curse somebody might use against another person, doesn't it? You will be whirled away by the storms of life. Yikes. On the other hand, your hopes will be granted, and you will have a lasting foundation, even in the storms of life. Pretty strong contrast. It looks to me like these are general observations about how it usually goes, not 100% delivered threats or 100% delivered promises, not guarantees, just a measure of how life generally works. I mean, look at the Old Testament. All God's people waiting for a Messiah, they didn't live to see it happen. So in earth time, that looks like not all promises are being delivered, except that we live in a time when we know that that promise did come to pass, the promise of the Messiah. The other caution I feel like seems wise to make here is that you have to think about what it means to be wicked or to be godly. And we are learning about that this year as we go through Proverbs little bit by little bit, aren't we? But also in general, let's just acknowledge that every person who does a dumb thing, a wrong thing, a thoughtless thing, a mistaken thing, a foolish thing, all these people are not necessarily wicked, right? And every person who seems to be hitting all home runs, who looks amazing to their friends and neighbors, who says the right things in the hard moments, who shows up to help when help is needed, who appears to be following the laws laid out for us in the Old Testament, not every single one of those people are necessarily godly. We hear about people who seemed great all along, right until it's revealed that they were secretly committing some horrific acts that just fly in the face of all decency that we can know. All that to say, while we have some general guidelines for the difference between wicked and godly people, we can't always judge accurately which category a person falls in. And someone who struggles with depression or mental illness or just plain, had a horrible childhood with people speaking awful things into their lives, that person might condemn themselves as wicked in a moment of, feeling like a failure, feeling like I never get this right, when really they might be counted as godly because they're in there, they're fighting the good fight to do right things, they're fighting to love God and others in their life, and even if they're not doing it very well, So throw away the condemnation if it tries to whack you on this one. Condemnation is not from God. Condemnation generally sounds like something like, thinking you're a garbage person, not fit to live among other people. But if conviction hits, and conviction would be a dawning realization that you've done wrong and you for sure need to repent, but are also loved deeply, valued deeply, and loved not a bit less by God because of something you've done wrong. Well, see, that's conviction. So when that happens, repent. Repent means turn the other way, turn the other direction, turn away from wrongdoing, and get on with your life. When you do that, you're being godly, even if it's messy, even if it's ugly, even if it feels like failure while you're doing it. With all that in mind, let's go through these 3 verses quickly to start to get them into our head. Are you ready? The fears of the wicked will be fulfilled. The hopes of the godly will be granted. When the storms of life come, the wicked are whirled away, but the godly have a lasting foundation. And again, the fears of the wicked will be fulfilled. The hopes of the godly will be granted. When the storms of life come, the wicked are whirled away, but the godly have a lasting foundation. And one more time. The fears of the wicked will be fulfilled. The hopes of the godly will be granted. When the storms of life come, the wicked are whirled away, but the godly have a lasting foundation. That's all for this time. I will see you next time, wise ones.